Shabbat Shalom, everyone. The Torah portion will be Exodus 2, page 57 in the Blue Book. I used to say or somewhere's close, but Dina's wasn't even close, so I won't say that. And a man of the house of Levi went and married a daughter of Levi. And a woman conceived and bore a son, and she saw that he was a lovely child, and she hid him 3 months. And when she could hide him no longer, she took an ark of wicker for him, and coated it with tar and pitch, and put the child in it, and laid it in the reeds by the edge of the river. And his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river. And her young women were walking by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her female servant to get it. And opened it, and saw the child, and see, the baby wept. So she had compassion on him, and said, "This is one of the children of the Hebrews." And his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." And the young woman went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse him for me, then I shall pay your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed him. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe, saying, "Because I have drawn him out of the water." And in those days it came to be, when Moshe was grown, that he went out to his brothers and looked at their burdens. And he saw a Mitzrayim striking a Hebrew, one of his brothers. So he turned this way and that way, and when he saw no one, he struck the Mitzrayim and hid him in the sand. And he went out the second day and saw 2 Hebrew men fighting. And he said to the one who did the wrong, "Why do you strike your neighbor?" And he said, "Who made you a head and a judge over us? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Mitzrayim?" And Moshe feared and said, "Truly the matter is known." And Pharaoh heard of this matter, and he sought to kill Moshe, but Moshe fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelled in the land of Midian. And he sat down by a well. And the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled the troughs to water their father's flock. But the shepherds came and drove them away. Then Moshe stood up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. And they came to Reu, their father, and he said, "How is it that you have come so soon today?" And they said, "A Mitzrayim rescued us from the hand of the shepherds, and he also drew enough water for us and watered the flock." And he said to his daughters, "And where is he? Why did you leave the man? Call him and let him eat bread." And Moshe agreed to dwell with the man, and he gave Zipporah his daughter to Moshe. And she bore him a son, and he called his name Gershom. For he said, "I have become a sojourner in a foreign land." And it came to be after these many days that the sovereign of Mitzrayim died. And the children of Israel groaned because of the slavery, and they cried out. And their cry came up to Elohim because of the slavery. And Elohim heard their groaning. And Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Yitzhak, and with Jacob. And Elohim looked on the children of Israel, and Elohim knew. Believe.
Today in the Brit Hadashah, we're reading 2 Timothy 4. 2 Timothy 4.
1163 in the Blue Book.
In the sight of Elohim and the Master, Yeshua Messiah, who shall judge the living and the dead at his appearing and his reign, I earnestly charge you, proclaim the word, be urgent in season and out of season, reprove, warn, appeal with all patience and teaching. For there shall be a time when they shall not bear sound teaching, but according to their own desires, they will heap up for themselves teachers tickling their ears. And they shall indeed turn their ears away from the truth and be turned aside to myths. But you be sober in all matters, suffer hardships, do the work of an evangelist, accomplish your service completely. For I am already being poured out, and the time for my departure has arrived. I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have guarded the belief. For the rest, there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness with the Master, the righteous judge, shall give me on that day, and not to me only, but also to all those loving his appearing. Do your best to come to me soon. For Demas, having loved this present world, has deserted me and went to Thessalonica. Crescens of Galatia, Titus to Dalmatia. Luke alone is with me. Take Mark and bring him with you, for he is of good use to me for service. And Tuchanos I have sent to Ephesus. Bring the cloak that I left with Carpos to Troas when you come, and the books, especially the parchments. Alexander the coppersmith did many evils to me. The Master will pay him according to his works. You too beware of him, for he strongly opposed our words. In my first deference no one stood with me, but all forsook me. Let it not be held against them. But the Master stood with me and did strengthen me, so that through me the preaching might be completely accomplished, and that all the nations should hear. And I was rescued out of the lion's mouth. And the Master shall rescue me from every wicked work and save me for his heavenly reign. To him be esteemed forever and ever. Amen. Greet Priscilla and Aquilus in the house of Onesiphorus. Erasto stayed in Corinth, but I left Trophimus sick in Miletus. Do your best to come before winter. Eubulus greets you, and Pudens and Linus and Claudia and all the brothers. The Master Yeshua Messiah be with you, be with your spirit. Favor be with you. Amen.
Been a while since I've spoke. I think I can still do it. When I was doing this, I was thinking about you, Dave, being able to fix computers, because like Howard said, we probably couldn't put all the books we read learning this in this room, but it's so much easier if you got a computer that you can punch in a word and come up with what you want to. I've got it all on another computer. I think I got 22 Bibles and 6 concordances, but they ain't doing me good because the screen ain't working on that computer. So I have to take to transfer it over. But anyway, when I was doing this, it's we can read the Bible and we look at some of the things in here and we just wonder, why are those in there? You know, the endless genealogies and all that stuff. But if you stop and think about it, it says that every word is inspired or breathed by the word of Yahweh. So they've got to be in there for a reason. And did you ever wonder, if you went to page 1109, it's 1 Corinthians 6 is where I'm going to start at. Have you ever wondered why we will judge angels? Did it ever occur to you that there's got to be a reason behind a lot of that? So anyway, on 1109, chapter 6 of 1 Corinthians, should any of you holding a matter against another go to be judged before the unrighteous and not before the set apart ones. So why do you taking other people to court out here in these courthouses? Do you not know that the set apart ones shall judge the world? And if the world is judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the smallest of matters? Do you not know that we shall judge messengers or angels? How much more matters of this life? If then you truly have judgments of this life, do you appoint them as judges who are least esteemed by the assembly? I say this is to your shame. So he says, if we're going to judge angels, why cannot we even judge amongst ourselves without going to court? I want you to turn to Deuteronomy 32. That'll be on page 221 of the Blue Book. Page 221. The next chapter I go into, and I can't remember what sparked this meeting. And I was trying to think, Roy, this morning, I forgot to ask you. But when we was listening to Psalms 82, where did we hear that? And you read it on your phone. What was we doing? And remember, we thought, no, that don't. We both looked at each other and we said it doesn't. But I'll go into that here in a minute. But anyway, right now we're in Deuteronomy 32. Let's start in verse 7. Ask your father and let him show you your elders, and let them say to you, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. Has anybody seen anything that doesn't sound right there? When did he separate the nations? By the number of the sons of Adam. Let's go to Genesis 11. And I think, well, I didn't write that down. Genesis 11. And all the earth had one language and one speech. And it came to be, as they set out from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to each other, come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, come, let us build ourselves a city, a tower whose top is in the heavens. Now, a lot of the translations, if you read it, they say that we're going to build this tower up to heaven. But that isn't what it says. It says, let's build a tower that will reach, and which is the Shemayim, can mean anywhere from the top of your head to the other atmosphere, but it doesn't actually say into heaven. But anyway, and make a name for ourselves. At least we be scattered over all the face of the earth. And Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And Yahweh said, look, they are one people, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. And now they are not going to be withheld from doing whatever they plan to do. Come, let us go there and confuse their language, so that they do not understand one another's speech. And Yahweh scattered them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building that city. Okay, he scattered all these people all over the face of the earth. And there's so many things floating out there, but we'll just take this for face value. It says that there was nothing that they could not do if I let them go ahead and do this. So going back to Deuteronomy 32. And remember this here, right here. I want to go back to 32, page 221, and see what we said maybe was wrong with that verse there, 221. Okay, there it says, and when he separated, this is verse 8, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. Okay, what's wrong with that verse there?
Didn't exist yet.
They did not exist. So if you look in and I've got it here, it's in the Septuagint, and it's on every older description of Deuteronomy. That word there is Ben-He Elohim. Messengers, angels. So he separated those nations according to the numbers of the Ben-He Elohim, or the watchers, or the angels. So, okay, here's another kicker. For the portion of Yahweh is his people. Jacob had his allotted inheritance. Okay, for instance, I'm going to give you the rest of the world. I'm going to separate it amongst all these watchers or angels. I'm going to take this old man that lives in Ur. He's 75 years old. He has a wife, 65 years old. I'm going to, and she's a pretty good looking gal too, at 65 years old. But I'm going to start a whole nation out of these two people. They don't have no kids or are not able to have any kids, but I'm going to take them as my allotment. And that is my portion out of the whole world. I'm going to give you watchers, every bit of it. But this is my portion here. And here he says Jacob, but how did he start it? I'm going to do this supernaturally. I'm going to take Abraham. I'm going to take him out of the most pagan country that's in the world at this time. His mom and dad are moon worshipers. If you want to read it, they worship the moon. They worship everything, but their main thing was the moon. And if you were a good-looking woman, then you had to attend to be a temple prostitute for a certain amount of time. So I imagine that was another reason there that he wanted Abraham to get out of there. But I'm going to take Abraham, they're barren, and I'm going to move them over here into the land of Canaan. They know nothing about, okay, and I'm going to make them my inheritance of all the world. Them's the ones that I want, is Israel. Let's go to, let's see. Okay, before I go any further, when he told them to, let's go to Psalms 82 right now. Psalms 82. That's what kicked this whole thing off, I think. I'm in page 693. 693. But I have the copy of this here in the Septuagint if anybody wants to see it. And I have it in the all the oldest of the references of Deuteronomy 23. I have the original Hebrew where it says Ben-He Elohim if anybody wants to see it after services. So I have that already down. I did my research on that. Anyway, let's go to, what did I say? Psalms 82. Page 693. Okay. Elohim stands in the congregation of El. He judges in the midst of the Elohim. How long would you judge perversely? And show partiality to the wrong? Give right ruling to the poor and the fatherless. Do right to the afflicted and the needy. Rescue the poor and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wrong. They do not know, nor do they understand. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. I said, you are Elohim. And then if you want to read in the King James or any of the other ones, that word there is lowercase g, gods. You are gods. And all of you are, here's that word again, that they said it's only in the Bible 3 times. That word there is Ben He Elohim again. It's called, if you read it in the Hebrew, the way they come up with it, it is more than, it's not exactly blood kin like we are. But that word Ben He Elohim always refers to the watchers or the angels. It always, never is it used unless it's used for that. He said, all of you are the sons of the Most High. And that word there is Eliah. It's with a Y on the end of it. And it is only reserved for the Father, or when Yeshua was Yahweh in the Old Testament. That's the only time that with the Y on the end of it is used for the Father or the Most High when it's talking about because he's using all these Ben He Elohim as smaller case G gods, and they are the angels. But as men you die and fall as one of the heads. So we know we've read where it says that Satan and his dominions will be ashes under the saints' feet. So right here, this confirms it. He said, as men you will die. You will die as men. Arise, O Elohim, judge the earth, for you shall possess all the nations. Who is this he's talking about that will possess all the nations? Now we know basically why a lot of those people a lot of the Ben He Elohim found out who was going to be, that was going to judge them, and then turn around, they would be the full inheritors of all the earth. It says all nations. It doesn't say partial nations, but we'll get into that again here in a minute. Let's go back to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 32. But before we do that, look at Genesis 9 there real quick, where it's talking about the commission that Yahweh gave to mankind before the Tower of Babel. Right there in Genesis 9, it says right there, it says, and Elohim blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, what? Be fruitful and increase and fill the earth. That was their commission, was to fill the earth. Okay, now then let's flip over to Genesis 11 there. And I think we read this, but let's read it again and try to see it in a little different light. It says, and all the earth had one language and one speech. And it came to be as they set out from the east, they found a plain and in a land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to each other, come, let us make bricks. We've read all that, and they had asphalt for mortar and all that. But here in verse 6, and they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens, and make a name for ourselves, lest what? lest we be scattered over all the face of the earth. Well, back there in 9, he said, be fruitful and increase and fill the earth. So that was total opposition. People said, oh, them poor people in Babylon, he just done that. No, they didn't listen to him. He said, you need to go on all the earth and populate it. But what did they do? No, we're going to stay here and do this. A lot of people say it was a ziggurat. A lot of people say it was, but in any case, we've seen over here in 32, where and in Psalms, where he put them in charge of the nations, according to the Jewish writings. He separated them into 70 nations worldwide. I'll agree. I don't know. I have no way of knowing, but that sounds reasonable. He scattered them all over the world. But what was the first thing that every one of them done when they got there? They built some sort of a temple. And who was it to? It wasn't to Yahweh. Look at India. Look at South America. Look at, no matter where you go, they are very religious. But on them temples and stuff, you see snakes, you see images of every kind of abominable thing on earth, and every one of them want to bring their Elohim to them rather than to just worship in spirit and truth. They want to build a building. Oh, let's build a building and we'll have our Elohim come to us. So anyway, they sit there and they were very, like I said, they were very religious. Well, I'm sure, if right now we decided to go out here and build us a building and make homage to these with fallen angels, I don't think they're called demons. From what I understand, the demons are the Nephilim that have disembodied spirits that are roaming the earth. But the powerful ones were the fallen angels. And what do they all want when they done all this? They wanted to be worshipped. So now then, we're going to take every one of them. They wanted these deities. They had their own deities, in each one of these things. So Paul, let's go back to 1 Corinthians 6. Let's go back there. That's page 1109. I believe it's that. Read my own writing. Says, do you not know that we shall judge messengers? How much more matters of this life? If then you truly have judgments of this life, do you appoint them as judges who are least esteemed by the assembly? I say this to your shame. Is it so that there is not a wise one among you, not even one, who shall be able to judge between his brothers? But brother against brother goes to be judged, and that before unbelievers. Already then there is a failure with you, that you have lawsuits among you. Why not rather be wronged? Why not rather be cheated? But you yourselves do wrong and cheat, and that to your brothers. Do you not know that the unrighteous shall not inherit the reign of Yahweh? Do not be deceived. Neither those who whore or adulterers, nor infirmity, nor homosexuals, nor thieves, nor greedy, nor gain, or drunkenness, rivalries, nor swindlers shall inherit the reign of Yahweh. Okay, turn to See, I've got it wrote down. Yahweh has more or less divorced, or I don't guess the word would be divorced. He could be humanity as a whole, and took his allotment as Abraham. He said, out of him, I'm going to make a nation that is going to fill the whole earth, and I'm going to bless him. And because he does what I want him to do, I'm going to bless him and all of his seed that goes on. You can turn it real quick, Genesis 12, real quick. I missed that. I see it here. That was the seed of Abraham. And Yahweh said to Abram, go yourselves out of your land, from your relatives and from your father's house, to a land which I show you. And I shall make you a great nation, and bless you, and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I shall bless those who bless you, curse him who curses you, and in you all the clans of the earth shall be blessed. So Abraham left as Yahweh had commanded him, and Lot with him, and Abraham was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. But anyway, there we see, and if you want to go ahead and read that, that is where all the nations will be blessed, and through his seed, the nations will be blessed. But we read where 32 there, where as Yahweh's portion is Israel. He is going to build a kingdom of priests and people to take over from these fallen ones, or these people that are, okay, for instance, did you ever think there where it said that in Daniel, where they were disputing, no, that was in Jude, where he was disputing over the body of Moses. There, that was it. But then you go to Daniel, and he is arguing with the prince. I believe it's Michael or Gabriel, with the one of them comes in, and they are arguing, disputing over the. He said, "I heard you from the very day that you started praying," but he said, "I couldn't get here because I was held up by the prince of Persia." So we know that Yahweh put these people in charge of these countries. And then he took his portion against all the rest of them, which is Israel. That's what I'm trying to show everybody here, is that was his commission to do that. And it doesn't say that they weren't the ones that was already, but then if we read there in 82, it talks about how corrupt they are in judging the people. These Ben-He Elohim says they go against the poor. They go, look at us today in this country right now. Who's in charge? Look at Washington, D.C. Who's in charge? They're human beings, but who's behind it? Who is running the show behind all of these entities and everything else? And where is all of the sin and corruption and everything else coming from? And who's instigate? Man can do quite well on their own, but then when we get them behind man, just think what's going on. Let's where I was going to go a while ago, I said it was Corinthians 6. It was I lost it. I'll find it. No, I believe it is Galatia. Was it Galatia 6? I haven't found it. Bear with me a second. think it's Corinthians 6. Yeah, Corinthians 6. Now, Galatians, I've lost my place. I wrote the wrong thing down or I can't find it. It's where he's talking about fighting against principalities and all that. I wrote the wrong thing down. But what it is Paul is talking about them and the unknown. Maybe it is there, but he's talking to all the people that they come together every day, and he has a commission to go to all the non Jewish or non his commission. Excuse me, is to go to the not to the Gentiles, to the nations. And he comes to the Mars Hill there, and he quotes them, says, "Well, I see that you all are very religious, and you have, and they always want to know what's new and what's fresh and everything. But if you remember that Paul went on, and Tarsus was where he kept saying that he was going to go." And he had this idea that he would never die until he had gone to all these nations that were mentioned back there in, I believe it's Genesis 10. If you'll look at them, Genesis 10, it goes and names all, and it's the name of them, like Mizraim is the son of, is a grandson of Ham. All these people, they have a commission. Well, I didn't know till I got to digging into this, that Paul kept thinking he would not die until he went into to Spain, and that because that was Tarsus. I did not know that until I got to researching this. But Tarsus, and he never did make it there though. So Yahweh told he went to Rome. He kept saying he was in chains, but he knew he was going to end up going to Tarsus, and that was the one commission that he never did fulfill before he died, because he went to Rome and he never did leave there. But anyway, we have all these nations against Israel. And I didn't think before that really Yahweh was allowing this warfare in the heavens and everywhere going on. But now then I see that it is going on. It's more or less them fighting amongst themselves, and he's allowing it. He's allowing this spiritual warfare because it makes sense. If they can't get along, I mean, if they want all this to go on in the world, that they can't get along amongst themselves. So actually they are disputing, and I can go into more of that later because I'm not going to make this very long. But, that is why you are going to replace these angels, these B'nai Elohim. You're going to do the commission that they were assigned to in all these nations around the earth. And you're going to take, he said back there in Psalms 82, that you're going to die as men. He told them angels, you are going to die as men. And then these people that I'm bringing up through my allotment, through Abraham and his seed, is the one that's going to take over and rule this earth for the 1,000 years and thereon. But that's his commission. It was our commission, is that if we can't settle the smallest things amongst us, how's he going to turn over? You're going to rule nations, you're going to be priests, you're going to be everything. If we cannot handle the smallest earthly matters, then how does he expect us to run the worlds? The nations of the worlds later on. That is your commission. You're going to take their place. It says they will die as men. But we're going to judge them and then take over the nations. That's our inheritance. That's what it is. And I found it quite, it's not a very long message, but I found it quite fascinating. All the things that Yahweh has in here, that even the little things in here means something if you dig hard enough. My next one is the one I'm working on now is why is Dan not in Revelations? Be thinking about that. He names all the tribes, but while I was doing this, I run across some pretty good clues on that. But the next one be Dan's commission. I think that's enough on this, but I just wanted you to see where we will be judging nations, and we're going to take over that whole commission from the fallen angels. Is there any questions while I'm still up here on this? Or Lisa? Yours. Or if I got your tongue this time. I thought it was quite interesting. I mean, I like the fellow, but Roy and I can't remember what we were doing though. It was in Psalms 82, and me and Roy both was going there, and I looked at him and he looked at me and I said, I don't think that's in there. And he said, well, I don't think it is. So he's got his phone and he starts in. He said, yeah, it's there. Yeah, Marcy. Well, they're not demons. The demons are the disembodied spirits of Nephilim. The fallen angels are the small case G. They are in charge of these. Well, look, if you stop and think about it, look how many in India and in Pakistan, all these countries, they have hundreds of them. They all, and they build these temples. And they drag these names in there, and they call upon these names. Well, I like Howard said, I don't know, but I believe that Maitreya is a fallen angel. I do. I mean, that's a Rogerism. That's not biblical. But I believe he is. I believe Howard's right on mark with that. But if they can't get along with Yahweh, how are they going to get along with each other? I mean, there's got to be a hierarchy there. Well, for instance, and Howard, I think will verify this. If you study the angelic world, there is never one that is in the Shemaim or in the heavens that look like men, other than when they come to earth. It talks of them when they're here, they look like men. Satan is a cherub. A cherub is an ox. Satan is a seraphim. We don't know exactly. Well, I don't know. That could have been the adversary. Instead of, we call the name Satan like it's a human, but all Satan means is adversary. We know when they're talking pretty much about Lucifer, that is him. But when we're talking about the name Satan, 90% of the time, it's just the adversary that's speaking. I mean, if we want to go biblically, pretty strict about it. But if they can't get along amongst themselves, I mean, they're warring with each other and everything else like that. Yeah. Probably right here. Listen to us. I mean, they want to know that. Well, it says that angels listen in unaware. We don't know. I'm sure if the good ones listen in, the bad ones listen in. But I think they have this is a Rogerism. They have restrictions what Yahweh allows them to do. Well, let's go. For instance, which one was it where Yahweh called them in? And if you read it in probably the King James or the Bible you got there, Dave, it calls it the divine council is what it generally calls when he calls the set apart or the angels. He calls it a divine council. It doesn't in here. It calls it the Ben Elohim or different things. But anyway, he called him in, and which king was it that he was going to go? He said, I want you to go lie to him. I want somebody to give him a bad report. And remember the one and it called him Ben Elohim, and it said he was a spirit. He was a spirit, so we're not spirit. So it has to be Ben Elohim. Well, it asked him. He says, "I'll go lie to him." He said, "Yeah, go right ahead." He said, "You have my." Go ahead. I can't remember which one it was. Howard might be able to remember, or Lisa, but it says where he said, "I will give that report to him, and I will be the lying spirit in his mouth." That gives him, I believe it was one of the kings there that was of Israel or somewhere, and he said he would be that. Lisa, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, so just for clarification, are you saying that like in the book of Daniel, Gabriel is delayed coming to Daniel because he has to fight with Michael against the Prince of Persia?
Yeah.
So you're saying that and that was that was spiritual messengers, spiritual entities that were over kingdoms.
Yeah.
So you're saying that kingdoms that are not of Yahweh, kingdoms, these kings, or whoever the head is, basically there is a spiritual being on the adversarial side most of the time.
Yep.
That is in charge of the king or the prince that runs those kingdoms. Is that what you're saying?
They're sure not following Yahweh, are they?
No.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. Now, maybe you look at it different, but I look at it that there's somebody there that is in charge of that. But you look at all these people, they have like hundreds of gods. And some of them, and there's generally always a spirit behind that God. And they go in and build these shrines and these ziggurats and all these other things. And they call on these spirits to come in. Well, what else? If they've fallen, if they've already done what they've done, why would they not? I mean, want to be worshipped. That's one of the things that they all want to do. But we know who's in charge, but he's allowed this. And then if you go into Revelations, I believe it, I wrote it down. I didn't get to the end of it, but over there where it says, the nations are now the nations of our, where's it at? I know I wrote it down. I can't find any of my notes here. But it goes in and it says that those nations are now the nations of of Yahweh. But I must have left part of my notes because I've lost a bunch of stuff here that I cannot find that I had written down.
One of the scriptures that you were quoting a while ago was from Ephesians chapter 6.
Yeah, Ephesians, where it says we're done. We are not fighting. That guy, I've lost a whole page of my notes. I've noticed here. I don't know where they're at. But yeah, it was talking about we don't fight against flesh and blood. We fight against the principalities, the spirits that are to be, and all that other. And I have found out again too that if you're using a Strong's Concordance, it's okay, but boy, it's Catholicized to the word go. If you try to use it, you can find stuff to it, but don't take it for what it means or what it says. Marcy. Yeah, I think I wrote that. I know I did, but like I said, it's in 1 Kings. I knew that.
Kings 22.
Yeah, here it is. But that's where he does that, and that goes to show you that he calls them in, and that they can lie, they can do whatever but it says that we will judge them, and we will replace those people as the leaders, and what I was really getting at is if we can't settle the least amount of things here in our own life, then why would he put us in charge of a nation or, you know, even a community? If we have to be fighting, you know, how are we to handle his government and his heavenly things if we can't even settle amongst ourselves like it was saying over there in Ephesians? I mean, not Ephesians, whatever, Galatians. But he says, why would I put you in charge of heavenly things if you can't take care of the least matters that I give you to do here? You can't even get along in the assemblies, much less